The evacuations of civilians caught in the war has finally begun from the war-torn eastern Aleppo. As the convoy of ambulances and buses carrying them snaked out of Al-Amiriyah district and crossed over to government-held Ramussa. There were fears over how long this truce will last. Here's the latest.
The buses are back at the Ramussa crossing point in eastern Aleppo, hours after heavy shelling, effectively ending the ceasefire in eastern Aleppo. The first evacuation of civilians caught in the conflict started. On Thursday, negotiators managed to reach a deal to rescue the 50,000 people trapped in the city.
نحن عندنا هدف واحد، نحن لا نبحث عن أو لا يهمنا مصير الإرهابيين بقدر ما يهمنا مصير المدنيين. نحن بالنسبة لنا المقياس هو سلامة المدنيين وتأمين خروج آمن أو محافظة على حياتهم بكل الوسائل الممكنة.
The agreement came following intense negotiations after the ceasefire deal fell through Wednesday. The United Nations had to once again appeal for an end to the fighting.
The safety and security of tens of thousands of men, women, and children still trapped in eastern Aleppo remains precarious. We urgently call for a pause in fighting to allow people who wish to leave safely the besieged eastern Aleppo for a destination of their choice. The parties must also ensure that those who have surrendered or been captured and are treated humanely and in line with international law.
UN and rebel sources said the evacuation deal was reached despite the resistance of Iranian militia backing the Assad regime. Iran was demanding simultaneous evacuation of wounded from two villages surrounded by the rebels, but the world rallied in favor of the ceasefire. United States Secretary of State John Kerry spoke with his Russian, Turkish, and Qatari counterparts, seeking resumption of talks to end the war.
In all of these conversations, the Secretary has stressed the need to continue to try to stop the bloodshed and the violence through a meaningful ceasefire. He also continued to stress the desperate need for humanitarian aid to get in and for the establishment of humanitarian corridors for people to get out and to be able to get out safely. None of those things obviously have happened.
Not just the U.S., even Turkey stepped in and got Russia to exert pressure on Damascus to abide by the deal. In Istanbul, hundreds staged demonstrations outside the Iranian consulate denouncing Tehran for imposing new conditions on the agreement.
İran halkı, onun hükümeti kabul etmesinler, susmasınlar, bir şey yapsınlar.
Halep'te çoluk çocuk demeden, kadın demeden yüzlerce kişi, binlerce sivil orada katlediliyor. Eli silahsız kişiler katlediyor ve bunun Müslüman olduğunu iddia eden İran katlediyor.
From Turkey to Paris, hundreds opposed the bombings. The French capital witnessed one of the biggest demonstrations in support of Syria since the start of the conflict in 2011. The Eiffel Tower went dark in solidarity with the people of Aleppo. As terrified civilians finally move out of the war zone, the world would also hopefully get to hold to account the war criminals of Aleppo. Bureau Report, WION.